The People First podcast is a show presented by the people with learning disabilities. For our friends and community, we talk about issues that are important to us and interview interesting people to find out new information. This is our way to make a difference and how our voice is heard.
Hello and welcome to the People First podcast. In today's show, we're talking to two very special guests. Dean Williams, the chairman of the Wheelchair Football Association, and Adam McAvoy, the England Powerchair head coach. Welcome both.
Welcome to you all. Happy to be here.
Hi everyone, nice to see you.
I'm the Wheelchair Football.
Come into our office to learn about people first, keep it and clever, and tell us about who possibility are. Welcome to the show. We enjoy all that.
And that was basically because there was...
Course you introduce yourself and what something else injuries are from.
So my name's Trevor. Thank you for welcoming me today. So I'm a team leader for Voiceability here in Bradford.
Who are Voiceability?
So Voiceability are a rights and voice-based charity. We've been about for just over 40 years, and we support people to ensure that their voices are heard and that their rights are respected as well.
What kind of people do Voiceability support?
So we support lots of different people. We support people with autism and learning disabilities. We support people on mental health wards and in hospitals. And we also support people out in the community as well.
What actually is an advocate?
That's a really good question, because lots of people don't know what an advocate is. People who should probably know better don't know what an advocate is as well. So our jobs as advocates are to ensure that people are listened to. We help people to make decisions, so we give them all the information and the choices so that they can make a decision, and then we help them to tell professionals, doctors and social workers so that they listen to individuals.
What type of work do you do?
That's an excellent question, and that's one I've not even said. So we sometimes we support people if they're in hospital. So we might speak to doctors with the person or for the person. We visit people in care homes. So that's about making sure that the person's happy in the care home. And if they're not happy, we help to make sure that they're listened to. And we also meet people out in the community. So that can be helping people if they want to make a complaint, or if they want some help with things like housing or accessing services. So lots of talking and listening, really.
Why is it so important that advocacy services like ours and Voiceability exist?
I think it's really important, and I don't think any of us can stress it enough. We make sure that people are listened to, and I think that's the biggest thing that we could do. We're always on the side of the person, so we don't work, same for yourselves here, we don't work for the NHS, we don't work for the council, we're here for the people, and we're completely independent, and I think that's really, really important.
What is your favourite part of working at Powerchair?
So I've got lots of favourite parts, because I think being an advocate is the best job I've ever had. I think it's absolutely brilliant because we get to meet lots of different people. We get to listen to what they support and help they might need. And then we help them to actually make those changes. So I think it's such an important part of the job. I work as part of the Bradford team, and it's a really, really nice bunch of people who work in the Bradford team as well, and they all really care. So I think those two are probably the biggest things.
Why?
Why did you decide to visit PFC today?
There's a few reasons, really. I really wanted to find out more about the work that you do here and the different activities and sessions that you do. And I think it's really important for advocacy services like ours and support services like ours to work together, because the more we know about each other, the more we can help different people.
What have you learned from your visit to PFKC, and have you enjoyed yourself?
I've really enjoyed myself. It's been brilliant. This is my first podcast, and I think you've all been really, really gentle with me and helped it to be really fun. I've learned that you do so much in the community and the different projects that you do. I think it's fantastic, and that you're all part of it and you're all part of the decision making. I think it's a brilliant service, really, really a good service, and I'd like to come back as well if that's all right.
People want to say more information about disability. Where can we find it?
So we've got a website that talks about all the different services that we have, and it's a website that can talk to you. It's a website that can make the font and the size of things bigger, so it's much more accessible. We have lots of information in leaflets in different languages and in easy read versions. We also have a helpline, and I'm going to look at my badge now. Our helpline is 0300 303 1660. So you can speak to an advocate on the helpline and they can give some advice and support.
What are Voice City's plans for the West for 25?
Oh, you've put me on the spot now. I've really got to think about what we're doing. So here in Bradford, we're working on something that we call our Hot House projects. And what that is we are working with different parts of the community to ensure that people are listened to. So we're doing some really exciting things with the Loneliness Lab. And we're doing a coffee takeover where we're talking about advocacy. We also visit MESMAC as part of one of our Hot House projects. That's the LGBTQ plus project. And we do a monthly drop-in there. So yeah, lots of exciting stuff in the community. We're also wanting to go to Keighley Pride this year, which I think could be really, really fun. So hopefully we'll see some of you down there as well.
That's all the time we have for today. We'd like to say another big thank you to Trevor for joining us at PFKC today and talking to us on the podcast. We love sharing info about other organisations, and we've learned a lot about voiceability. Do you have anything to add before we end the show?
Just to say a massive thank you to you all. It's been a really, really nice morning. And yeah, I hope to come and see you all again.
Dependent on where you live, there should be a club that you could go and play for and train and have fun at within maybe half an hour of where you live. So different clubs will train at different times. So some train in the evenings during the week, some train on the weekend on a Saturday or a Sunday. So they will run a variety of different sessions, and in some cases they'll have young players and less experienced players and older players and players that play in competition at a higher level. I would think, I can't say for definite on every single club, I would think that you will have to pay to play and to train, and that's because that then goes towards things like covering the costs of the sports hall or the venue that they use to train and to play in. So I would anticipate that there are 35, 40 sessions a week taking place all across the country for players of all ages and experience levels. And then from there, most of those will then play competitively, either regional fixtures, so playing on a more of a local level, or they'll come and play in our national league, which is all of our best teams in the country come into our central venue, our home, which is in Nottingham, across the season.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's fantastic. And when you see it in action, And as Dean will know firsthand from when he first came along, it's fantastic to watch and really enjoyable too.
Why is Russia why playing Russia for important people health and well-being?
I think there's two things for me. There's the physical aspect, and there's also the mental aspect as well. So again, the physical side of it, playing sport, even if you're in a wheelchair playing sport, there is still physical exertion that happens in terms of playing the sport. It doesn't matter about the version of the game that we play. But actually, what I want to focus on is the mental side of that. So what I would call the cognitive side of what it does for people that play the game. So I think this is the bit that when I first went to watch it, I just watched it as a spectator and fell in love with it. And then the more you talk to players and parents and carers, then you really do understand what difference it makes to people's lives. And that sounds like a very grand statement to make, but it happens to be completely true. So from a cognitive point of view, I love the fact that this is a moment of independence. We play 4 against 4 when we play on, effectively think about a netball or a basketball court in a sports hall. And for that 20 minutes each half, so 40 minutes in total, they are required to literally think and do and execute and do all the things that come with that when you play the beautiful game of football. So show leadership, teamwork, collaborate, communication, all of that stuff. And they vary, our players will vary obviously in terms of how much independence they have, but some of them are quite limited. They rely on quite a lot of care that happens pretty much around the clock. And if that's the case, for 20 minutes of each half, 40 minutes in total, they're very independently being asked to put themselves in a position where they're making decisions for themselves and actually playing the game of football and playing it to an extraordinary high level. So I think from a cognitive perspective, it's really, really important. You know, this is their time to do things independently rather than just have somebody else around them in all the other things that they would need aid to do. And I love that. I think that's a beautiful connection that we have with the sport. The amount of unsolicited emails that I have and notes from parents and carers and players themselves that talk about what we actually do and what we're enabling and what difference it's making in the case of someone's son and daughter, that's amazing to receive them, because you do get a real sense, and Adam and I will know this is generally true, that it's a very fulfilling piece of their lives, and that is what really makes me get out of bed every single day and do something towards moving the Wheelchair Football Association forward. You might want to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, some additional things for that is it's the other skills as well that are developed through playing, which really benefit and aid an individual's well-being and just general maturity and growth as people. So as with any sport, it's working as a team. It's the communication element as part of that as well when you're working with other people. It's learning how to win. It's also learning how to lose and how you can recover and deal with that. And also you see a lot of very competitive and determined players and athletes that, despite all the challenges that they have and that Dean mentioned, they're as competitive as anyone else and really possess that strong desire and will to win and want to do well for themselves and for their team. So football and our format of football really encapsulates that, and there are huge benefits, let alone what it does for not just the players' health and well-being, but also the families as well. So the families get to come together and they get to experience those same highs and lows. And many parents say that they didn't ever think that their son or their daughter would ever be able to play sport or competitive team sport. But Powerchair Football has given them the ability to do that, to create new relationships and friendships. We've had births, we've had marriages, and we've had friendships that have lasted for decades, and that's all through Powerchair Football.
Where is the WFA based, and in what places do you host sessions?
That requires quite a big answer, that one, because as Adam touched on earlier on, we've got so many clubs whether they're competing in what we call our national league between the Premiership and the Championship, or in the regional leagues. So in terms of a base, it's probably best to answer that via where do we play our national league games? So at the moment we have, Adam just touched on this, we have a centre which is in Nottingham Trent University, and we play within Sports Hall on their campus. And that's where we ask our teams, whether that's a Premiership weekend or a Championship weekend, to all come together in a relative, you guys would know, relatively central location in Nottingham. And logistically, although some of them will have quite some way to travel, so we've got a team in Bournemouth, we have a team also in Newcastle, and various teams in between those two as well. There's a lot of travelling involved, but to get them to a central location, we think is the fairest way of doing that, to play our National League games. And effectively that's done in Nottingham. So for a whole weekend, 5 times a year, the Premiership teams will meet and play off. So ultimately they play their games over that season, and then we replicate exactly the same thing for the Championship teams as well. Outside of that, we've got all of the regional leagues that will perform, and of course that's geographically closer to where those teams actually sit. So there'll be a little bit less travelling for most of those to play in the regional leagues.
How many people usually take part in a session, and how many people play wheelchair football across the country?
So we have, in terms of how many people play across the country, we have roughly about 550 players across England, which is a fantastic number for us. And it's also a number that we're also trying to grow as well. So whilst we have, as we mentioned earlier on, around 40 clubs across the country, there isn't a club in every county in England at the moment. And that's something that we're working on to try and change and grow. So we do a lot of work, myself and my colleague Ryan, on trying to create new clubs in different parts of the country where there isn't any activity. And so by doing that, we're really excited that those numbers are going to be 600 plus maybe in a year or two's time, and that's a fantastic target that we're working towards. And then in terms of how many people usually take part in a session, I would say probably maybe between 6 and 12 in a session, dependent on the number of players that a team has. But then if you've got bigger clubs and big clubs, as we have in some cases across the country, some clubs will run more than one session. So they might have 2 or 3 sessions during a day. So there could be upwards of 30 people taking part just in one session at one club.
What are your hopes and future plans of the WFA and wheelchair football?
Great question, Luke. I should answer that, shouldn't I, really, as chairperson? It falls
it's
down to me,
fine.
that one.
It doesn't matter who answers.
Oh, bless you. Well, Adam will chip in as well, Luke. There's no question
Please
about that.
both do it.
Bless you. Thank you, Luke. So I think from my perspective, I can kind of separate the elements on that, really. So let's think about the game first and foremost. So in terms of hopes and future plans, we are very fortunate, and Adam is the man tasked with the responsibility of leading the England elite Powerchair football team. We have major tournaments to play. So this September, Adam will take his squad to Italy for what we call the Nations Cup. If you're into your football, that's pretty much the equivalent of what we would deem as a European Championship, and we'll compete against 9 other teams, other international teams, and we are the holders of that trophy as England. So we won that in 2017, I think that's right, Ads, 2017, and then is that right?
2019, sorry.
2019, sorry. So we won it in 2019, and we get the pleasure of defending that over in Italy. And then we have another tournament coming up next year, which is the World Cup in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where we get a chance to win the World Cup, having finished runners-up on penalties rather painfully in Sydney into Australia in 2023, which is a few weeks after I joined. So I think from a football perspective, if I think about hopes and dreams, absolutely 100%, we want to do very well in terms of representing England and bringing home some major trophies. So that's on that side of it. Adam touched on, outside of playing the game, Adam touched on the growing the sport. And that's something is really important to us. So I love the aspiration of what Adam just said around having more coverage of people being able to go to their county or a county very close to them, being able to access Powerchair football. That's really, really important. We also have a fully inclusive game. So we don't segregate between ages or male, female, or any gender specificity at all. So everyone can just jump in to a chair and play the game of Powerchair football. And I love that. I think that's great. But we want to grow certain participation numbers. So we are deliberately targeting to grow more female players that come into the game. That's a real specific target for us as well. And then beyond that, if I think about a higher level of that in terms of the aspirations for the Wheelchair Football Association, we would love to have an even greater presence than what we have right now. So at the moment we are, and there's nothing wrong with this, we are used to going into playing the sport in sports halls. But if I'm allowed to dream for a minute, Luke, and answer that question, I would love to have a bespoke Powerchair football arena, which sits in England, which enables us to play, ideally in a kind of central location to fit in with other things that we have that are working for us in terms of the National League that I alluded to earlier on. But that would be amazing to have something that we call our home, rather than just playing in a variety of different sports halls, which of course, if you're used to that environment, you'll know there's lots of markings on the ground, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of sports are played on the same surface that we play on. So there's lots more dreams than that, Luke, but that's just a few of them, I think. What about you, Ads?
I think very similarly in that I would very much like to be successful with England at the Euros and the World Cup, because it would be a fantastic achievement for the sport in general, and would hopefully raise more awareness of who we are and what we do. And then as a byproduct of that, we would then bring more people into Powerchair football, be it from a playing point of view or from a support and volunteering and get involved point of view. And then to add to that, as very much what Dean says around growing the game and getting more people involved, definitely working towards, as we mentioned, having more teams in different parts of the country, and having everything growing and really thriving. And then from an organization point of view, having real growth as an organization, and maybe having more people working within Powerchair football as well to really help move us forward into the next decade and beyond would be fantastic.
The competition that all and took in wheelchair football played at the Paralympics.
So we have a really good and really strong competition structure for Powerchair football in England. So the short answer is yes, we have leagues and we have a cup competition. The longer answer would be that from a league point of view, we have 6 regional leagues. So split across the country as the starting point and the entry point into playing competitive Powerchair football. So the Southwest, Southeast, West Midlands, East Midlands, Northwest and Northeast. That is where, as I say, players will begin their journey of playing competitively in Powerchair football. And then from there, we have a national league, so our premier competition, as it were, and that's a 2-division national league. So we have a premiership and we have a championship, and both have 12 teams in each, and we have promotion and relegation in that as well. So if you win the championship, you get promoted into the premiership to play against some of the best teams in the country, and then you can get relegated as well. So if you have not a very good season, and then you end up getting relegated into the championship, you've then got to try and get back into the premiership as well. So we have a really strong competition structure and pathway that's playing pretty much, it seems like there's competition and activity every couple of weeks. So it's a very, very busy season. And also we have our National Cup competition, the WFA Cup, which is our equivalent of the FA Cup. So we have all of our teams that are eligible to to enter and participate, and it's a knockout competition. So exactly like the FA Cup final that was played this weekend with Crystal Palace beating Manchester City, which is fantastic for a new team to win a competition. We have exactly the same process where we have teams playing each other and in a knockout competition to reach the final, which is played at St George's Park. So our version of Wembley, and the teams get to play at St George's every summer. And in recent years, that final has actually been shown on television as well. So on TNT Sports, which obviously used to be BT Sport, and that is a fantastic platform for people to watch Powerchair football if they've never seen it before, and also to really show how talented our players are as well. So it's been a really great addition that the FA deliver as part of a wider weekend of all the different impairment cup finals. We are delighted to be part of that.
And if I can answer the Paralympic question as well. So yes, great question, because we're not actually actively in the Paralympics at the moment, but there is I think 100% a joint goal that stretches beyond just what we do in England, the Wheelchair Football Association. It will be covered by lots of different countries, and also our international governors, FIFA as they're called, will be very keen for us to try and negotiate our way and put ourselves in a position where we are deemed suitable to be part of the Paralympics. So that remains an incredible dream for us. 2028 is the next one. That's too early. So conversations at a very early stage, and ambition has been shown to perhaps look at from 2032 onwards, but that mustn't be confused with an announcement that I'm making. There is an awful lot of work to do to get to a stage where we would be considered to be one of the sports that should be taken in by the Paralympic Committee, and then to do their wonderful sport and their wonderful festival justice. So there's a long journey to go on that. It's quite a slow process. That's not a criticism. It means there's a lot of things that we have to put in place. Where we sit in that from an English perspective is we have a responsibility to help other nations grow as well. So there are circa, it depends what you read, but there are circa around 30 different nations that will play Powerchair football, but at various different levels. And for the Paralympic Committee, if you can just imagine that for a minute, they would want to have some very firm evidence that there is a lot of growth and interest within the sport, and also it's being paid at a very competitive level. So we can go into the Paralympics and we've got a proper spectacle for people to watch and get involved in as well. So there are a number of things that we are working on around that. It won't be just down to us, that it will be down to everyone that has an interest internationally in playing Powerchair football, but it's 100%, it's an aspiration. Why would it not be? That'd be incredible, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be.
Definitely.
It would be. And it would be nice if you could actually get us more involved with the sessions and maybe join you at some events in this country. And if we could get the funding and get the support, we could all, well, depending on how much, we could plan a day of it somewhere.
We'd love that. That would be the kind of thing that I'd pick up with. Can I see Katrina on screen there as well? Hi, Katrina. So that'd be the kind of thing I can speak to Katrina about, because that opportunity for us to be in various different locations for the UK means that we will have opportunity that sits quite close to where you guys are located as well. So
Oh, certainly.
That's something we can look at 100%.
Could fit in for a wellness week, maybe.
Yes, that would. We would do that.
What is your favourite part of working with the WFA?
I'll go first on that one, Adam. I mean, for me, it's watching it. So that's a very strange, simple answer, isn't it? But the thing that drew me towards the sport in the first place was watching how compelling it is to watch. And then, as Adam alluded to a few moments ago, seeing the competitive nature, particularly in the National League, as to how the sport is played. And there is no substitute for watching it. So even though I have a lot of responsibility in terms of administration and governance of the sport, it's one of those things that can easily get in the way of forgetting that actually the reality is we're here because we're all absolutely enthralled by a sport that we just love to watch. And that's important. Sometimes I have to remind myself of that as well, to say, forget the administration side of it, deem that away for a minute, just enjoy this football. So I love the watching bit. But the other side of, if I'm not watching it, the bit that really floats my boat and makes me really motivated is to see the sport grow. And in my time, because of the quality of the team that I have working around me, we've been very fortunate in terms of seeing it grow to levels of in the last 2 years, and that really gives me a buzz, and that gives me a lot of motivation then to keep playing my part and then keep driving and leading that forward so it becomes bigger and bigger. What about you, Ads?
Very similar. Obviously, I've been involved for more than 10 years now, and I've stayed involved because of seeing the potential and the progress for the game to grow, and the progress that it has made in that time. And it's also the impact and the positive impact and the changes that you can and then the sport can have on people. So not only from playing point of view, and I've been involved, as I say, for so long, where I've seen players starting their journey at maybe 10, 11, 12, and 10 years later, they're now young men and young women in their early 20s and adults now, their way through life, but also continuing to have that passion and desire to play football, and the relationships and the friendships that they've built through our game. But also, as I said earlier on, around the impact that it's had on the families and the wider network that are involved in our sport. And it's a lot of people that have said, as I said earlier on, what football means to them and how it's helped them. And for me, I don't feel that you get that in certainly any other form of football, and potentially many other sports as well, in that it's not just the influence that you can have on the individual playing. It's the support and the positive influence you can have and the sport can have on everyone else around them as well, and really giving people that opportunity to try and enjoy what can be a challenging life as much as possible, and trying to support that and facilitate that has been something that I've really enjoyed being a part of in my 10 plus years, and hopefully a few more years too.
We are then to open up the questions from the office team. Did anyone have any questions before we go onto our office?
Martin's got the first question.
Yeah. So, if someone was to coach the big chair for football, how can you get started?
So, it's a great question, and we always welcome people wanting to get involved coaching, because that's something that is a really important area of our game. So what we would advise and encourage people to do to begin with would be to look at some of the FA qualifications that currently exist. So there's a really great starting point, which is accessible online, and it's called the Playmaker course. So it gives an overview into the very basics of what coaching is and how coaches can get involved and support players that they work with. And it also gives a little overview as well around the different types of disability football that are on offer for people to access as well. And then from there, the next step could be potentially to participate and undertake their next level course, which is their level 1, or their introduction to coaching football, which is it covers football in general, so the running game, but that gives an enhancement on what people have learnt in the first course, the Playmaker course. And then from there, we would definitely encourage people getting in touch with us, because we deliver a 1-day bespoke course which is based on coaching Powerchair football. So it's a combination of sitting down in the classroom and learning about the game itself, so some of the laws of the game and some of the key elements around the wheelchairs and some of the words and the language that we use and how it differs from the running game. But then the really fun part is the practical element. So the coaches get to sit in the chair and have a go and try and practice some of their skills. And then the other coaches that are there then put on little sessions trying to encourage and work on the basics. So the driving skills, dribbling, passing, shooting. And that is what we deliver at the moment as the first stage in people getting used to and introduced to coaching Powerchair football. And then a really exciting area for us that we're trying to develop over the next year or two around the next level of coaching to really improve the coaches that we have coaching our game.
If someone wanted to get involved in the wheelchair football or find out more information, how could they do that? Is there a website?
Yeah, so there is a website which is effectively it's the wfa.org.uk. So the website will host lots of information on the Wheelchair Football Association, but actually we're very, very active, possibly more active across socials. So if we think about, from more of a business perspective, LinkedIn, but from a more social perspective, if you think about X, you'll find us on there really easily, across Facebook as well, and across Instagram. So, if any of you really want to get involved and join and find out more about the Wheelchair Football Association, any of those particular mediums, feel free to join and access and take a look at what's going on.
What's your favourite football team?
I'll let Adam go on this one first because he's big smiley face because his team have achieved quite. His team have already achieved quite a lot this season. Who's your team, Adam?
So my favourite football team that I have supported since I was a little boy, since I was 6 years old, because it was the first team that I saw on TV, is Liverpool. So this year has been a very good. Yay!
I'm going to listen to either the cheers or the boos when I announce my team. So my team has a very, very important day on Wednesday this week, which will be our opportunity to win our first European trophy for 40 odd years, but our first trophy since, if I can get this right, 2008, which is far too long. So I'm a Tottenham supporter and have been. I know it often gets that reaction. I've signed up for a world of pain, obviously, by supporting Tottenham. So whereas Adam watched Liverpool in his first TV game, unfortunately for me, I happened to watch Tottenham, and that was for the same reasons I decided to support Tottenham, and that was it. So hopefully Spurs do something really special on Wednesday.
We're bitching, not you.
No, we went to Liverpool, Anfield, didn't we? Yeah. One of our members, their goal was to go to Anfield because they'd never been to see a football stadium or seen a football live. So we got some funding and we got to go for a trip to Liverpool.
Brilliant.
So he got to go to his first stadium and it was his favourite one. So that's.
I remember that.
Do you remember it?
Should we share as well, podcast team? Who do we all support? So Graham, do you want to go first?
Liverpool.
Do you have support a football team, Jane?
Ireland.
Very good.
Liverpool for me.
Not really, but England.
England, that's okay. What about you,
Luke? I'm just going to say, if your first response was not really, I'm going to now adopt you as a Tottenham fan. There you go.
Luke, you experience football a little bit differently because you're blind, aren't you?
Well, I don't.
So do you listen?
Help me as a Tottenham fan.
Hey,
we won a cup this year, Adrian.
What about
Right. Sorry, Daniel, who do you support?
I support Chelsea.
Chelsea over here. And as I said, I'm a Newcastle fan, so we're doing all right.
We've had a good season. Very good season.
So before I was sister, I football practice sister, and I practice 4 years. So, and then like when I said I football, that my life is just practice and prison, suffer of breakthrough.
Right. So when Martin was little, he supported Bradford City. And then after, when you got a little bit older, you supported Man United.
Yeah.
And then this Wednesday, you supported Tottenham.
There you go. You got there. You got there in the end. That's all I can say to that. Nice. Yeah, nice. I think Adam alluded to this earlier on as well, that there are lots of the FA Football Association are wonderful, and they have lots of different para football disciplines. I think, Adam, there's probably 11, isn't there, something like that in total, where it's a lot more than what people think, where people with a variety of different disabilities can find the version of football that works for them. So the FA deserve a lot of credit for the work that they put into that, which is amazing. Just other paradisciplines that sit outside of what we do in Powerchair Football.
My team, Bradford City, the time, moved to Bradford City. They are born in Bradford.
Brilliant. Yeah, we love that. We love that. So I'm trying to think, Ads, about the closest to the area these guys will be located. Leeds teams. Yeah.
You know how many teams have played the game for the last 40 years?
Oh, you're going to make me look now, aren't you?
we need a spreadsheet for this one.
Hang on. Okay. I'll read out a few names then that you might know. So in our Premiership, we have West Bromwich Albion. We have Newcastle United.
Hey!
We have a team linked to Aston Villa. We also have teams linked to Nottingham Forest, Middlesbrough, and Norwich City. And then in our Championship division, we've got Manchester United. We have Manchester City as well. Bournemouth as well.
You got Chelsea.
Have you got a Chelsea one? Daniel's asking. That's his team.
No, unfortunately not.
I've got Liverpool.
No, but we'd love to get Liverpool, so we're trying to work on that behind the scenes. We'd love to get Liverpool involved.
Stephen would be asking for Ipswich.
Yes, we do have a team based in Ipswich, actually, linked to Ipswich Town. Yes.
Fantastic. Does anyone else have anything else to add here?
Yeah, there is one question. Well, it's a bit of an obscure one, but to do with football. Do you know of any video games that they have wheelchair football teams in?
That's a fantastic question, because we were actually talking about this a few months ago. So there are platforms. It's probably not right to mention who the platforms are, but there are platforms out there that have expressed an interest in picking up different versions of football in terms of how can they appeal to an audience that doesn't play football in that way. So there is a bit of noise that's happening around this. And if I go back to the question I was asked, which is another brilliant question around hopes and dreams, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it, to think that there is a version of, there's lots of, I don't want to name them because it's not fair on others that compete in the same way, but there's lots of platforms for games where ultimately you see one version of football, which we would call the running game, which of course our Powerchair football players would play that version and enjoy playing it. But, what a wonderful world it would be if we actually had a version of Powerchair football that you could actually play as a game. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So, that might be added to my hopes list.
All
Great
the
question.
time we have for today's episode. A big thank you to Dean and Adam for taking the time to speak to us on our podcast today. We hope that wheelchair football continues to grow in this country and all over the world, and we have enjoyed sharing information about it with our listeners. Do you have anything else you would like to add before we end the show?
I just want to say thank you very much. It's lovely for Adam and I. We actually do a few meetings like this, and to see people that are so enthusiastic and asking brilliant questions around the sport and clearly interested in terms of what you want to understand from us about what wheelchair football and powerchair football is. So I think you guys have been amazing on both. I mean, for the listeners, we've got a screen in front of us, which is the podcast studio, and we've got a screen of people in front of us from the staff as well. And you guys have been fabulous in terms of organising this and asking such superb questions. So thank you so much from my perspective.
Can I just say, on behalf of everyone, we've all enjoyed it, and we always enjoy new visitors.
Likewise, Luke, and don't forget you're a Tottenham fan now.
Oh, no.
That's great. Thank you. Lovely to meet you all.
Great.
See you.
Brill.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember the comment right there and please vote and subscribe and hit. You can find it by searching for people the podcast at very and we see you soon.